Welcome to Love Lizzy. I'm your host, Teresa Sabatine, daughter of a philosopher and a psychologist who spent my childhood evenings nestled between psychology textbooks while my mother pursued her master's degree. Even before I understood what it meant, I became a light worker, deeply feeling and naturally attuned to the energy and emotions of others. When I was 22, my mother, Lizzy, a therapist, feminist, and community builder, was taken by breast cancer. Her absence created a darkness I carried until I realized I could transform that grief into light. And so, Love Lizzy was born. My offering to continue the legacy of the woman who taught me how to listen with my whole heart and provide a shelter for others in the storm. For over a decade now, I've had the privilege to guide CEOs, founders, and hundreds of women toward their authentic purpose, helping them build and grow businesses, get unstuck, harness their unique talents, and navigate life's uncertainties. On this podcast, our community brings questions about love, purpose, creativity, and grief. And I offer both comfort and practical tools, continuing my mother's legacy of holding space for those seeking wisdom on their journey. I'm so glad you are here. Let's dive in. In this episode, we talk about grief. Oh, what a complex subject. So full of so many feelings and emotions. But we tackle it. We tackle it because a brave community member called to share about her loss, and we chose to meet her on the bridge. You hopefully will find this episode comforting and calming. My dream is that it's just a big hug for anybody who is feeling alone in their loss. Thanks for being here. Let's dive into the question.
Hi, Lizzy. I am calling because I have a question about grief. I recently lost my best friend, who was a cat, but still my best friend nonetheless, and it's been pretty hard. How do I pick myself back up? I feel like often when I tell people that, I lost him, I get the response of, oh, he was a cat, and it kind of diminishes the grief that I'm feeling. So maybe the question is more of, how do I justify to myself this feeling of overwhelming sadness, and how do I pick myself back up?
First of all, I just want to say that you are exactly where you need to be. I am so grateful that you brought this question to Love Lizzy, because here at Love Lizzy, our pets are our family. I feel like there are a few camps of thinking around grief, and I'm just going to go ahead and set the stage for how I want to walk you through this really heartbreaking moment in time. We are one with nature. So we believe at Love Lizzy that we are love, that our animals are love, that our trees are love, that our grass is love, that our bugs are love. And sometimes that's a really daunting way to live, because that means that you're in tune with these living things in a really deep way. It feels like it would be a lot easier to be in relationship to nature and animals and people in a less deep way, like where you don't take them as seriously as they are and you don't treat them with the loving respect that they deserve for being living, breathing things. But I think it's actually harder to be out of touch with nature and animals, because it creates this kind of disgruntled, disassociated experience in the world. And from my experience loving people, places, and things, whether that's an animal or a tree or a flower or a best friend or my sisters or my nieces or my dog, or even the little lizards that climb on my porch every morning when I drink my coffee. What I have found being in loving relationship to those things is that I get so much from it. I get so much from my loving relationships with people, places, and things. If there's nowhere else that you can go in the world to be honored for the way that you love and cherish this cat, and for the deep relationship that you had with your animal, you're going to always be able to come here. Love Lizzy is always going to hold space for your love for people, places, and things, and especially pets. One, I just want to honor the level of grief that you're feeling. And I want to reflect back to you that it is so warranted. Like, that's just that. It's like, there's no other argument to be made other than like, absolutely, positively, this is your loved one. And however you feel about losing that loved one is exactly how you deserve to feel. Cat, mouse, lizard, friend, sister, brother, cousin, tree. Like, I don't care. It's nobody's business how you choose to deal with the loss that you're feeling from this companion that has been with you. Pets live with us. They sometimes, I believe that they are closer to us than some of our human relationships. And animals are extraordinarily powerful. They speak to us on a whole nother level, in a whole other dimension. I find with my dog Billy that I speak to him through our eyes. Like, often we can have a whole conversation without any words, and it's just the way that we're looking at one another, and even the way sometimes he shakes his head or the way he barks versus howls. And he has all these idiosyncrasies that make him so unique and so special, and make our relationship so unique and so special. There are cultures around the world where humans wear black for a year to represent the magnitude of their grief. Knowing I was going to answer your question today, I put on this black, sweet little tank top because it's hot and it's summer here. And I remember trying to think about how I wanted to speak to you about your loss, that there were maybe like 3 or 4 years in a row after my mom passed that I was in black. And I didn't even know I was choosing black. It was just one of my very spiritual responses to loss of something I loved. I didn't even have to think about what to grab or what to buy or what to put on, because black was the only thing that felt true. And I hadn't read any studies about grief and wearing black and mourning. Like, I had never even explored that topic. I just was responding animalistically to the situation. I want to give you permission to feel your way through this grief without judgment. If you forget that you're not supposed to judge yourself for the amount of emotion and love and grief and pain you're feeling from the loss of your friend, then come back here and listen to this and let me remind you that, like, you are allowed to feel whatever you are feeling. And I hear in your question that you also want to make sure that you don't go down into the dark place and stay there. And like, that is a beautiful dance, right? That is a nuanced, beautiful dance. And I think what I want to ask you is, what would your cat want from you upon his or her departure? You know, I think a lot about Billy, and I think about how Billy, my dog, is still alive. And I go through grief about Billy like once a week. It's like this visual comes to me, and I imagine what I'm going to be like when he's no longer in my life. I think Brene Brown claims this is foreboding joy. It's like, I have the joy right now, but it's so joyful that I have to also prepare myself for the pain that comes when you have joy and when you love something, because death is a part of life. It's like, we're going to lose the things we love. And I know that we all want to get better at that. We're built to get better at things. We're built to tell ourselves that we should be more resilient. And I just want to say, like, I don't know if we get better at death. I don't know if we get better at loss. Certainly, I am in a better relationship to that place inside of myself because I've had a lot of loss. So there's a familiarity with grief that I have now. That familiarity doesn't make loss any less sad or overwhelming or shocking. It just is like, oh, hello, old friend. This is what it feels like when we lose something we love. And then it's like, I feel like my job is to sit with that part of me and be like, hey, I'm so sorry that you lost your friend. I'm so sorry that you are feeling the overwhelming, all-encompassing emotions of grief. I want to just like get you a blanket and a tea, and I want to just play some really beautiful music, and I want to let you mourn your friend. And so I think that's what I'm going to recommend. I'm sure you've done some sort of process to let your friend go with honor, but I wonder what grief might feel like for all of us if we actually allowed ourselves to mourn. If we actually did put judgment aside and say, my love of this thing that was a part of my life for however long, it warrants mourning. The love and friendship and camaraderie and joy and connection that I had with this being was out of this world. I feel like Billy taught me what love was. And I'm hearing in your message and in your voice that like you loved this cat with everything you had. And that is a courageous thing to do. It is courageous to love something all the way, because it does mean that you have to risk losing and detaching from that thing that you gave all your love to when it goes. I really believe that pets are angels. I feel like they're here to watch over us, to teach us, to offer us companionship when we don't know where to turn, to almost remind us that we are worthy of that companionship. All of that is wrapped up in this experience that you're having with your pet and your cat. I think it's honorable and I think it's beautiful. Let me just reflect back how on purpose your grief feels to me and how warranted it feels. Now, on the other hand, you want to know how you get back up. You want to know how you carry on without your friend. I don't know. I don't know if you do. I don't know. I don't want to sit here and say that like life goes on. Life changes when we lose something we love. You move from one dimension to another dimension and you've never been there before. You don't know this place. It's not familiar to you. The things that were familiar to you are missing. Grief doesn't get easier. It just gets more familiar. You just get like, oh, this is grief. She's visiting me again. She's reminding me of that thing I love so much that I can no longer touch and feel and hear and be with and connect to. And it's like, hey, grief, it's nice to see you again. Thank you for reminding me of the love that I once had for this thing that was physically in my presence. You had a friend that you counted on regularly to provide you friendship and comfort and love and connection. And now that friend is no longer here and you have to acclimate. You're going to need some time. Your system is in shock. I want to just have you be your own friend during this time and almost act as if you are on a quest. And the quest is, how am I going to show myself loving kindness when I am in shock? What does it look like for me to love myself when I'm in recovery, which is what grief is? It's recovery from shock. It's recovery from change. It's recovery from this major event that sends lightning through your system and makes you see the world completely different than you saw it one day before. Time slows down and you get kind of dizzy and you're trying to navigate everything the way that you did the day before, but like none of your tools are working. None of your facets are working the same. Even your eyes see things different. The way the sound comes in is different. The way the food tastes is different. It's just like, dang, where am I? How did I get here? I don't know the world without my friend. I don't know the world without this thing. I got so used to having this thing or this person or this loved one with me and around me and there for me and part of my life. And now you just want me to carry on without my friend? I get it. You're going to have to potentially find new routines to help you with this recovery time. And you're going to have to like maybe eat different foods and talk to different people and make new friends and maybe join a grief group. Like, I don't know, girl. You don't actually know what you need right now because you're in shock. And so whenever we don't know what we need and we're in shock, we just want to double down on love and kindness. And let's draw a line between like enablement and love and kindness, because enablement is kind of giving up. It's like saying, I don't see a world where I'm going to feel better and I don't see that this is going to be okay. And I'm really leaning into this, like, I'm so sad. I don't know if I can go on, which is a feeling that you're going to have and you're going to wrestle with, but we don't want to stay there. Right. And so I feel like what you're asking me is, I feel despair. I don't want to stay in despair, but I also am in despair. Like, I'm in a glass cage of emotions. Like, it's real. The glass cage is real. And life goes on, and the sun is rising again, and the sun is setting again. And you have to like show up for maybe other responsibilities. And you have to like find a way to find your gumption and your creativity and your joy despite the despair. I'm not going to put a timer on your grief. I'm not going to say like, okay, you know what? Like, let's just do a 90-day sprint here with your grief. And we're going to be like, yeah, 90 days, we're going to feel better. But I do want you to go on a quest. I want that quest to be, what's one thing I'm going to do today to honor my friend? That might be crying. That might be going on a walk. That might be getting rid of something in the house that every time you look at it, your despair magnifies. I know that when my mom passed, my dad like just started throwing her stuff away. I remember how angry I was at him when he did this. We did a pretty good job, I feel like, my sisters and I, of going through her things right when she passed away. And then there was like this period of time where more of her things were just sitting around the house, and my dad just could not take it. And now that I'm the age I am and I'm distanced from my adolescent feelings of being 22 and not knowing where to put my rage, I don't have rage for my dad anymore. I have immense compassion. I have immense compassion at like his need to not look at the thing he lost every day, his need to clear the space so he wasn't reminded of his pain every day. And you're going to get there. And I think you need to trust yourself, because the world is going to always give you all of the ideas in 100 different directions of how to do something, how to deal with something, how to cope with something. And I'm just going to say, like, girl, you've got this. You know the amount that you loved your friend. You know the amount that this friend meant to your life. You know what it means to honor that friend with your grief and your mourning. You know what you need when it comes to wanting to look at your cat's things or not look at your cat's things anymore. Like, that's a personal decision. And so I'm just here to give you permission to like act how you need to act to deal with your loss. And that, of course, does not mean that you get to go be horrible to other people or you get to be self-destructive. I don't recommend that. But I think there are a lot of things between mourning and self-destruction, and mourning and being stuck in the emotions and self-sabotaging. Like, that's a pretty wide spectrum. Grief also shapes us. And I think that's a really important distinction to make here at Love Lizzy, is that like these things happen and they change you. And I think where we get a little stuck in our grieving and our understanding of how to move through this despair and loss and heartache is that we expect ourselves to be who we were before. And I got to tell you right now, like, I am nothing near the woman that I was when my mom passed away. I'm just not. Like, I'm a completely different human. And part of the thing about loss is that it kind of shatters our reality, and it reminds us that like time is super finite and that life is fragile. We get really confident and we get really boastful about like, oh, I'm alive. It's just another day. And sometimes even like depression or setbacks can make us feel like life isn't really that valuable. And then something that we like loved with all of our might goes away. And we are like, whoa, 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 whoa. This life thing is really special. This life thing is really important. My ability to wake up every day and have a deep breath go through my body, demonstrating that I'm still alive, is like one of the most magical things in our earthly experience. And so I want you to allow the loss of your friend to change you. Go on a quest to understand who you are now that you have known and loved this cat, and what this friend of yours did for your life, and how he or she changed you while they were here. And then I want you to just be like, and who am I going to be now that I know what it feels like to love something so much and lose it, and realize that things that I am going to love are going to go away. I am going to lose probably everything I love. That's a really daunting thought. So I'm going to do a little bit of some movie trivia. So I don't know any of you ever saw the movie What About Bob? But it is a family favorite in my house. And we grew up watching What About Bob all the time. And Bill Murray is exquisite. He's exquisite. Everyone is exquisite in that movie. But there's this really powerful scene in the film where the son of Richard Dreyfuss, I believe is the actor, and Bill Murray are getting kind of close. Like they're developing this friendship. Bill Murray shows up at this psychiatrist's house, his like Nantucket or whatever, like lake house in the summer, because he needs to talk to a psychiatrist. Like he's literally like, I can't do it without you. And he like comes to find him. And the wife of the psychiatrist like invites Bill Murray's character into their home and is like, yeah, like come hang out with us. We think you're great. And the psychiatrist is like, this is such a violation of my boundaries. And he's so upset about it. And Bill Murray's character, Bob, becomes this lovable character. And he and this young son, who I don't know, is maybe like 9, 10, are sharing a room at this house. And they start to have this like serious conversation about death. And the little boy is telling Bill Murray about how he's like realizing that everybody dies. And he's like, we're all going to die. I'm going to die. You're going to die. We're all going to die. And it's like so real, this moment between he and Bob, and like this young gentleman realizing that like, oh my God, everything I love is going to die, including me. And what am I supposed to do with that information? I think it's a really good movie. Like, I'm just going to say that one of your grief assignments is to watch What About Bob? I need you to go watch that movie, partially because Bill Murray is just a treasure. And there's a lot of really great comedy, but there's also a lot of really great depth and a lot of really great concepts in that movie about humanness and connection and acceptance and understanding and like weird people and how we're all just weird. We're all just weird, you know, and we all just like love our pets and each other, and we love our comfort foods, and we love our little sanctuaries that we build for ourselves in our homes and our communities. And like, we don't make any sense. We don't make any sense. This is the craziest, wildest, most magical experiment place ever. I think loving your pet is an extraordinary thing. And I think wrestling with the idea that we all are going to die and the things that we love are going to die is so existential and daunting. And what I have found, dear listener, about loss and heartache and grief is that like, if I don't find a way to make it matter, it will swallow me whole. If I only spend time in the despair, it will swallow me whole. And I don't want to be swallowed whole. And I don't think your friend wants you to be swallowed whole. And I don't think Billy would want me to be swallowed whole. I think Billy would want me to continue to go on hikes and road trips and go to the ocean and swim without him. And see, I can't even talk about it because that's how much I love my pet. And that's how human I am in my love for him, that I don't want to be on this earth without him. But I also know that like living in my despair will take me down, and I want more from my life than that. And I think Billy wants more for me than that. And I think that your cat definitely wants to be honored, and he wants to know that he changed your life for the better. And I think he probably already knows. I mean, come on, let's be honest. Pets know everything. But he would also want you to carry on. And he would also want to see you doing fun things for yourself and loving yourself and playing and adventuring and making the most out of the time that you have left on this earth, which we cannot guarantee. Grief is beautiful because it wakes us the fuck up. It just wakes us up. And it reminds us that we need to find meaning in this time here and make the most of it and lean into our gratitude and go make a memory with something else or someone else or somewhere else that you love. Keep making memories because that is all we have. That is the only guarantee we have. And despair is going to come for us, and it is going to ask us to bow down and get on the floor and be bombarded by its magnitude. And you're allowed to do that for a little while. And you also have to say to despair, I thank you for visiting me today. And I also am going to allow for joy and love and connection and laughter, while also honoring the despair I feel about this loss, because I can be both and. I can be both heartbroken and devastated and sad, and I can be both curious and open and loving. And I'm all those things. And sometimes I'm all those things in 1 hour or 1 5-minute span. And some weeks I have more despair and some weeks I have more joy. And I think the job that we have to do when we lose something we love is to honor it and not talk ourselves out of what is real for us. I think the more that you stay in tune with your true feelings and watch the magic of your feelings. I remember when I was about 10 years out from losing my mom and I was still carrying the freaking grief backpack. Can someone burn this backpack? Could someone throw this backpack into the wilderness so I never have to see it again? And it was like one of those comedy skits where the backpack would just like find me. It's like, oh, I got rid of the backpack. I'm so confident. I'm rid of my grief backpack. I don't feel those things anymore. And then all of a sudden it'd be like, whoa. And there would be this major emotion that would come over me, the grief, the despair. And I would be like, oh, it hurts so bad to think about how I lost my mom. Oh, it hurts so bad to think about how she's not here anymore. I can barely breathe thinking about how I have to go on without her. And then within a day, there would be some wonderful thing that would occur, a beautiful bird that would fly past me, or an animal that would do something funny, or a loved one that would give me a call and tell me a joke and distract me from my despair, and a really good latte with a friend and a walk with a friend would like take me out of my despair and into my presence. And I would forget for a moment that I was heartbroken. And I just think that's it. That's the game. Sometimes that backpack's going to feel super heavy and you're going to be like, yeah, that backpack of despair is heavy today. And I feel it. And I wish it wasn't so heavy, but it is so heavy. So I have to honor what's true. And then in the next moment, you might have a really invigorating thing happen and you'll forget that despair for a second. We don't really get to decide how long our grief stays. We don't really get to decide how it manifests. We don't really get a lot of control over where it manifests, if it's exhaustion or mania. It can manifest in a lot of different ways, and it will change and it will morph and it will evolve. And so will you, my dear friend. So will you. You are better because you loved your cat and your cat loved you. You are better because you had this incredible companion and friend in your life. I commend you for being brave enough to love, for being brave enough to care for something, knowing that it's not going to be here forever. Damn. And anyone out there who is doing the grief dance and wondering, how do I go on? You just do. You just do. I think asking yourselves how you're going to go on is probably not the question that's going to get you feeling better. I think it's a matter of just taking it day by day, really atta-girling yourself for getting out of bed, and atta-girling yourself for brushing your teeth, and atta-girling yourself for going out with a friend, and atta-girling yourself for showing up to work, and atta-girling yourself for being willing to get a new pet, or, whatever it is that you choose to do with this grief. I commend you and I support you and I trust you that you know what you need to do. And sometimes it's a pilgrimage. I mean, there are people that lose something they love and they go on these 100-mile walks to try to make sense of it. And they go seek shamans and they go to the forest and they lean into nature, or they lean into travel, or they disappear from the modern universe for a while to deal with the magnitude of the feelings they're having on a mountain. I've done that. I've slept under the mountains, in the valleys, looking up at the stars to just be like, what is the point of all of this? There has to be more than just my sadness, just my despair, just this heartache. And there always is. There's always something around the corner to remind you of the magnificence of life. I just recommend that you let this grief shape you, that you honor your friend how you want to honor your friend. And if that's a year of black, or Maybe it's a year of color. Maybe you're like, my cat would want me to wear bright pink for 365 days. And that's what you do. Or maybe my cat would want me to create a cat sanctuary in my neighborhood so that other cats have shelter and food during the storm. Or my cat would want me to get another cat because my cat would be like, this girl cannot hang without replacing me. Like she does not have it in her. That would be fine too. I know a lot of people that literally like lose an animal and the next day they have a new one. I have no judgment for you. I get it. I just want to say we love you. We are so grateful that you trusted Love Lizzy with your grief, that you are a courageous human who's choosing to love things knowing that they go away. And we're going to be here holding court for your grief, holding court for your sadness, also holding court for your joy and your triumphant overcoming of this moment. And until next time, honor the complexity of who you are, cherish the love that you were courageous enough to have with your friend, your cat, and continue on your quest of being a deeply feeling human who's trying to make sense of all of this, because you're not alone in that. We're all doing that. And I just want to say to your friend, I am so grateful for the love that you gave our listener, for the friendship that you gave our listener, for the way you walked with our listener on this wild earth and made her experience here less lonely. What amazing cat you are. And you are going to be so missed, and you are still so loved. And I can hear it in her voice how much she loves you. And I just want to thank you for being a really cool cat and a really great friend. And there's just nothing as sad as losing something you love. And I think it's perfectly fine that that's just what we say. It's sad to lose things we love, but we carry on. And we carry on by helping one another and by showing up for one another and by sharing our grief and also our stories about the things and places and people we love and keeping them alive in spirit after they're gone. I think that's a really important thing. My reflection about my mom is that for a long time, we didn't really tell stories about her. And there's a lot I'm missing from her story. And whenever someone has some sort of like nugget or memory or joke or moment of my mother, I am like leaned all the way in. Oh, tell me more. Tell me more about that, because all I want to do is keep her alive, and all I want to do is know her more, and all I want to do is remember the magic that she brought to my life. And I think sometimes we think we can't talk about the things and places and people that we loved because it's like sad, and it's like, no. I think the most sad thing is when we stop acting as if they ever existed, when they gave so much to the world by being who they were, their unique, wonderful self. And so I recommend that you tell stories about your cat and that you share your cat with others and that you honor the quest that you're on. This is going to require you to change, and I trust that you have the strength to endure the change, and we'll be here if you need us. Thanks for tuning in. Imagine that you just listened to the podcast and you have so many thoughts and feelings running through your body. Maybe you're thinking of actually taking action on something that you've been stuck on, or maybe you heard something really resonant on the podcast and you want to explore it deeper. Well, now you can. You're cordially invited to the Love Lizzy Patreon community. The Patreon community is a simple, streamlined way for us to connect with you between podcast episodes, answer your burning questions, and just get to know you a little better. If you've been looking for some love and you want that one-stop place you can go where you know it's always going to be supportive and there's always going to be someone on your side, then the Love Lizzy Patreon community is definitely for you. You can find us at patreon.com/Love Lizzy. That's LOVELIZZY. I hope to see you there. This podcast is produced by Love Lizzy. Our editor is Kayla Hill, and the music is by my very own sister, Julia Sabatine. If you like what you heard here, we would love for you to hit the subscribe button. See you next time.